Well, welcome everybody. We are joined today by Jason Swiech, who is our lead product marketer for F&I, and Brent Coggan, who is our lead product manager for F&I. And my name's Anu Roberts. I'm the product marketing lead for Modern Retail. So we're going to talk about F&I in the dealership today. And we want to cover a few different things. We want to talk a little bit about fragmentation that occurs in the F&I process that really is affecting consumers. We're going to talk about how product sales in F&I are changing with the economy and how a better but flexible experience can really be a game changer for the dealership. So Jason, I know we sat here at NADA 2 years ago in Vegas talking about the F&I shopper study. What are some of the things that have changed and evolved since we've spoken last time?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at 2 years ago, uh, satisfaction with F&I was very high. It was at 84%. Now that has dropped since then to about 79%. What we're looking at is it's not 100% because of fragmentation, but the identifier with that is that they're still spending most of their time, them being the buyers, with F&I managers.
Hmm.
67% of them say that's where they spend all their time at the dealership compared to everyone else. And we also know how important time in the dealership is to the buyers. So when we look at fragmentation and we see that they're using 8 to 9 systems, that's a problem. That's going to increase that time. So from 2 years ago to today, it hasn't changed a lot. I think dealers are really more focused on that than ever before. But fragmentation still seems to be that issue that a lot of dealers deal with in their overall process.
You talked about a couple things, which is the fragmentation that's still occurring. But one thing that stuck out is just the amount of time that a consumer is spending in the F&I office, right? Not just on the sales side. And so you can do everything so well on the sales side, and then that handoff, just the sheer weight of it, can really cause a dissatisfied customer. Um, so you talk about how customers want this really great, fast experience, and get out the door quickly and very simplistic process. But how does that translate to dealers with their F&I product sales?
Yeah, right. So if we look at it and we want dealers to be quick, customers want dealers to be quick, but what we don't want to have happen is F&I lose that opportunity to sell. And we're not seeing that happen. F&I is still focused on selling, they're selling average 1 to 2 products per deal. And even with the economy, we're seeing a bump in specific products like maintenance, extended vehicle service contracts. And we think that's somewhat to do with the economy, but we also think that F&I managers are trying to broaden how they present products, meaning earlier in the workflows. And that at CDK, we try and say that too, right? Start to show these products as early as possible so that they're ready for them when it comes to F&I. So F&I managers are still focused on it. We just don't want F&I managers to take away from the most important part of the process, which is selling those products, just to save time. That goes back to that fragmentation. That's where they need to focus.
Brent, so we spoke about the F&I process affecting the buyer's overall experience, but how are dealers looking at things in their process to change the overall buying process from the dealership's perspective?
So one interesting thing that came out of the survey that surprised us, quite frankly, was over the past several years, we've been aggressively pursuing a paperless transaction, so a digitization of the F&I process. But 79% of survey respondents, this is the car buying consumer, reported that they wanted to walk away with a paper copy of their paperwork. So we feel that dealerships have to be able to offer a hybrid approach. So be able to meet the consumer where they want to be met, perhaps electronic copy plus paper. Don't throw out those printers just yet because I think the consumer isn't quite ready to fully adapt or adopt an electronic F&I transaction just yet.
Yeah, it's a little surprising, but
Very much
on the
so.
other hand, kind of like, well, it is a big purchase and you want something tangible, in your hand. It'd be interesting to dive into that a little bit more and see of the customers that say that, obviously the vast majority, do they want both, right? Do they want a digitized version and then also have that that paper copy. Jason, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think dealerships, I mean, the takeaway from that is not to go full paper, right? We're not looking at that. We still want to have digital experiences,
Right.
and consumers still want to sign digitally a lot of times, but it's just that walk away. And when a dealer looks at that and says, well, what do I do in my process to make it better and give that option? It's the solutions you choose. Are they flexible? Can they be flexible for your consumer and for your process to give the consumer what they want, but also still meet your needs as an F&I manager and as a dealership? So that's really the focus point of that, I think.
Yeah. One thing I just want to you had mentioned this, and I meant to touch on this just a second ago. You're talking about introducing like the menu products a little bit earlier in the sales, not just in the F&I office, but maybe in the sales process. What are some of the benefits of that, like for that the dealer sees on their side, and then on the consumer side as well?
So I'll start with the consumer side. So obviously with the consumer side, it's a very emotional purchase at the beginning. You're very excited with test driving a car. The negotiation, takes that excitement down a little bit, but you're still very high on that excitement. So when you get into that F&I office, you're really at the point where I just want to get out with this brand new car. And the last thing you want to do necessarily is have someone try and bump that price up or that monthly payment up. So the earlier we can give those expectations to the consumer, even if they don't pick an actual product at that point, they at least know that that's part of that process or that's part of that talk track from the dealership, and they can be more prepared and understand those products better. So the consumer isn't as jaded by the experience because we brought it to them earlier. From an F&I perspective, because you plant those seeds, doesn't matter how small those seeds are, it's been planted earlier so that you can just follow up on that instead of starting from scratch when they walk in your office and they're already maybe frustrated by how long the process has taken.
Hmm.
And I think it helps link the product sale to the sale of the vehicle, making it one transaction and not two separate, disparate transactions. So, in the eyes of the consumer, it doesn't feel like yet another sale happening when I've already purchased a car.
Hmm. And Brent, we talked about the fragmentation that takes place, and the breaks in the workflow from the process side of things. Um, you're obviously one of the leaders in our product team for F&I. What are some of the things that CDK is working on in terms of F&I to help improve that process?
So we're trying to integrate all of our solutions, right? So giving dealers the flexibility to do business as they see fit. So if you want to present products early in the workflow, we'll offer a solution that lets you do that. If you want to be what we would call traditional, we have a solution for that as well. So we're hoping to offer flexible solutions that let dealers meet consumers as they want to be met. So giving them the tools and the processes that they need.
That's great.
I think we're from an overall standpoint, and this we focus on F&I with this discussion, but we need to really focus on the entire workflow, right? So we're unifying that entire workflow from beginning to end. So to Brent's point, no matter where you are in the process and where that consumer wants to have that need met, we're trying to give dealers the ability to do that quickly.
That's great. Jason, as we wrap up, what are some of the key takeaways that you want to leave dealers with?
So I know we started with fragmentation. Obviously, that's an important piece to this. But we also know a lot of dealerships are looking at how they want the F&I process to actually operate in the coming years. I've talked to a lot of dealers who are looking for that single point of contact. Maybe F&I as an office goes away. What I would say is, as you do this, first of all, identify where your pain points are. Look at your process. Get granular with it. But if you are looking at maybe changing that entire workflow, take into consideration the expertise that comes along with F&I and making sure that you're not making it harder for yourself to be compliant and have the deals funded as easily as you might have with an expert F&I manager, just to change maybe a process earlier on. So be cognizant of that and look for the solutions that are going to help you along the way, that are going to give you those breadcrumbs of what you need to do. And so you don't necessarily have to have that 20, 30-year veteran in an F&I office.
Yeah, those are some really good points. Well, thank you for the great insights and conversations. I think there's a lot of opportunity. Um, you know, like you mentioned, that the dissatisfaction is increased ever so slightly. So there's some really good opportunities for dealers to really take a look at the process, offer that flexible experience that consumers want at the same time, right? And then also, on on the dealership side, talking about fragmentation. How do they unify that process a little bit more so they're working, operating more efficiently, and able to deliver that really good customer experience and hand over those keys to a really happy
Yeah,
customer. So,
absolutely.
yeah, thank you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.